I'm going through making my answer key for the SAT test number 9 from the College Board website, and I'm going to do test section 3. I recommend practicing transferring your answers to this score sheet. I'm just not going to do that in this video. And this test is supposed to be 25-minute limit. There's 20 questions. I'm going to go through it kind of quickly, making my answer key, but if you want to pause the video at any time, you could. So a system of equations, you should have learned in Algebra 2 some strategies, either substitution or elimination. We want the value of x plus y. So at the end, when I find x and y, I need to make sure I answer the question. I'm going to find the coordinates of x and y. Substitution, I'd have to get one of the variables by itself and plug it into the other equation. This is set up for elimination. See how they're lined up on top of each other? I'm going to multiply the top equation through by 2. That will give me negative 2y in this spot, and negative 2y plus 2y will give me 0. So I'm going to rewrite my top equation, 4x minus 2y equals 16. My bottom equation, x plus 2y equals 4. When I add my equations together, I get that 5x equals 20. So that tells me my first solution that x is 4. Notice that's one of the solutions here. They want to draw you in. Hey, I found x. There's the answer. You need x plus y. I'm going to take this 4, and I have to either plug it into the top equation or bottom equation. The bottom equation looks easier to me. So 4 plus 2y equals 4. 4 plus 2y equals 4. Subtract 4 to the other side. So 2y equals 0. Now, if I had written this test, I would not have made y come out to 0, because if you had just picked 4, you would have been right. I personally would have made y come out to a different number, like 1 or 5 or something, but they made y come out to 0, so x plus y is in fact 4. Okay, on question number 2. They want you to use the distributive property and simplify this expression. So 2x squared minus 2x, and then I've got 3x squared minus 3x, and I need to combine like terms. So I have 5x squared, and then I have negative 5x altogether. So that would be choice A. Which of the following statements is true about the graph of this equation? I need to put this in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So it looks like I'm going to add 3x to the other side to start. So positive 3x minus 4. And I'm going to divide by 2 to get y by itself. So I have, 3 halves x minus 2. That's not anything. Does it have a negative slope and positive y-intercept? It actually has a positive slope and a negative y-intercept. Choice D. The front of a roller coaster is at the bottom of a hill and 15 feet above the ground. If the front of the roller coaster rises at a constant rate of 8 feet per second, which of the following gives the height in feet of the front roller coaster car s seconds after it goes up the hill? It's already 15 feet above the ground, right? That's my starting position. So at time 0, we want the y-intercept to be 15, and the slope is 8 feet per second. So it looks like choice A for that one would give me 8 times every second is how many feet plus 15. So slope-intercept form for that one. The equation gives the amount C in dollars an electrician charges for a job. It takes H hours. Miss Sanchez and Mr. Rowland each hired this electrician. The electrician worked 2 hours longer on Miss Sanchez's job than on Mr. Rowland's job. How much more did the electrician charge Miss Sanchez than Mr. Rowland? Well, they both would have to pay the fee of $125, right? So if the electrician works 2 hours longer, 2 times 75, it would seem like he would, it would cost $150 extra for those 2 additional hours. Let's see. Here's a geometry question about circles. The circle has a center at O, so they're showing you that this angle originates with a vertex at the center. The length of the arc ADC, which is here, ADC, is 5 pi. X degrees is 100. So 100 degrees. What is the length of this actual arc? We have to solve this without a calculator, so we have to be smart about our math. This is part of a circle, right? So this distance is 5 pi. We want to know this distance, ABC. Well, we know that there are 360 degrees in a circle, and this was 100 out of that 360. So couldn't we set up a proportion that 5 pi was the answer for the 100-degree arc? What is the answer for the 360-degree arc? So we could cross multiply at this step because you could cross multiply. It just seems like a big number to multiply and have to do a proportion with. And so I'm going to cut this proportion down a little bit. I'm going to multiply through by 10, which will get rid of one of the zeros in my denominator. And 5 pi over 10, I could actually reduce to pi over 2, because 5/10 is 1/2. So now I've got pi over 2 equals x over 36. This is a little bit more manageable for me to do in my head. I know that 2, I made a mistake. X has to be 260 up here, right? Because 260 plus 100 is 360. Sorry, so this should be 26 right here. Are you with me? This was 100 degrees. This has to be 260 degrees. I miswrote 360. 360 is the whole circle. You could also solve it that way, though, just not using this proportion. So I reduced this to pi over 2. I have x over 26. Don't I have to multiply by 13? 2 times 13 is 26. Well, pi times 13, x would have to be 13 pi to make this true. Choice B. Hey, we've got another proportion that we need to solve. 8 over x equals 160 over 1. I can make it into a fraction, cross multiply. So I have 160x equals 8. So I need to divide both sides by 160 to get x by itself. I don't know what 8 over 160 is, but it's a pretty small fraction. When I look at my choices, it's probably D. I don't have a calculator, but I'm going to verify it anyway with a calculator. But it looks like the fraction would be your answer, or the decimal. What is 8 divided by 160? It is 0.05. You didn't need a calculator because that was the only thing on here that had a fraction less than 1. Okay, so in the equation above, a is a constant. If no value of x will satisfy this equation, what is the value of a? No value of x. So this needs to result in an untrue statement. I need to do some distributive property over here to see what I have on the right-hand side. I have 2ax minus 15. Then I have 3x plus 15 plus 5x minus 5. So what does that side reduce to? 2ax minus 15 equals, I have 8x, and I have 15 minus 5 is 10. Okay. So I see what they're doing here. This side says 8x plus 10, we want this side to say the same number of x's. So we want this to say 8x minus 15. It can't be true that 8x plus this number and 8x minus this number are ever going to equal the same number. So what does a have to be to make this 8x? A would have to be 4 to make it 8x. A system of 3 equations, we've got a parabola and 2 lines, is graphed in the xy plane. How many solutions does the system have? So the 3 equations, they have to intersect all of the other equations. So it's only going to have that one solution point where the lines are intersecting the parabola at the same time. These other intersection points don't count because not all 3 lines are intersecting at that point. The equation above is true for all x this time. So over here, no x satisfied the equation, so we had to get 2 things that didn't make sense. In this one, all of the x's have to work. So again, I think that we should do some distribution here. I've got a binomial times a trinomial. To me, the easiest way to multiply that in an organized way is using the box method. So you would put ax plus 3 down the side and 5x squared minus bx plus 4 across the top. These are kind of horrendous trinomials and binomials. If I multiply these two together, I would get 5ax cubed, right? 5a is my constant, and then x squared times x is x cubed. And then I would get 15x squared. Let's see, I would get negative ab x squared. And then I'd get negative 3bx. Then I would get 4ax, and I would get positive 12. We want this to be true for all x's. So basically, we want the 2 equations to equal each other. See how the 12 is equaling the 12? Which one could we work on here? So we want a total of negative 9x squared. And so right here, how many x squareds do we have? 15 minus AB. How am I going to get to negative 9? I would have to subtract, what's 15 plus 9? 24. So negative AB has to equal negative 24. So A times B is 24. That's the first thing I know. Let's see here. The x's together have to equal negative 2x. So that tells me that 4a minus 3b has to equal negative 2. What is the value of a times b? Oh, I actually didn't have to go this far. I don't care about this part. A times b is 24, right? Because if I have a negative on both sides, a times b must be 24. So by multiplying out and seeing where you need to go, you might be able to problem solve kind of like that. Which of the following represents all the possible values of x that will satisfy this equation? This looks like a proportion. So let's multiply. 2x times x minus 3 has to equal 2x. I want to distribute this 2x on this side. 2x squared minus 6x equals 2x. This looks like a quadratic, and so I want to get all of my x's on one side. 2x squared minus 8x equals 0. I want to pull out a greatest common factor and factor this. I'm trying to solve for x. Take out a 2x, x minus 4 is left. So my solutions would be 0 and 4, choice B. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression above when x is greater than 0? They want us to combine these two fractions, it looks like, using a common denominator. So we've got 1 over 2x plus 1 plus 5 over 1 at the moment. My common denominator is going to be the factor 2x plus 1. So I need to multiply this fraction basically by 1, but 2x plus 1 on top, 2x plus 1 on the bottom. What do I get when I distribute that 5? So I have 1 over 2x plus 1 plus 10x plus 5 over 2x plus 1. So when you add two fractions that have a common denominator, you essentially are just adding the numerator. Like if you had 1/3 plus 7/3, you would have 8/3. You're not changing the denominator, you're adding the numerators. So I have a total of 10x and 6. So is that one of my choices? 10x plus 6 over 2x plus 1. So the answer is D. This graph is a parabola. Which of the following defines f, meaning the function? So this looks like all of my choices are given in vertex form. So my vertex has gone right 3, up 1. So let's see, right 3, that would be left, that would be left. So right 3, up 1. So the only difference between A and C is the stretch factor. And see, when I go for over 1, I'm going up 4. That's 4 times as steep. Usually I only go over 1, up 1. So the choice would be for 13A. Let's see, 14. Which of the following does the shaded region represent? Okay, so inequalities. If I have the inequality y equals x plus 2, I need to find that function. So it starts at 2, up 1 over 1. So it looks like these all have that same function. This says all my y values have to be bigger than that line. So when I'm graphing this function, so I'm starting at 2, slope of 1, all my y values are above that line. For the second line, I need to put that in slope-intercept form. 2x plus 3y is less than or equal to 6. 3y is less than or equal to negative 2x plus 6 divided by 3. Y is less than or equal to negative 2/3 x plus 2. So when I graph this line, I start at 2, so they have the same y-intercept. I go down 2 over 3, down 2 over 3. So that's my second line. It looks like they all have that same second line. All my y values are smaller than that line. So smaller means below. So now you're going to look for the region where you've got that intersection. So it looks like that would be choice B. So that is number 14 is B. Number 15, the set of all the solutions to this equation. I have a square root function, so I'm trying to solve for x. I'm going to try taking the square of both sides of the equation. That will give me x plus 2 on the left. And that will just give me positive x squared on the right. And so if I have the function x squared minus x minus 2 equals 0, I'm subtracting those two terms to this side. This is now a factorable quadratic, x minus 2x plus 1 plus. And my two solutions from this look like positive 2 or negative 1. I should check that these actually make this equation true. So the square root of x plus 2 equals negative x. If I plug in 2, I will get 4. So the square root of 4 is positive 2 on this side, and I get negative 2 on this side. So that is an extraneous solution. Does negative 1 work? I would get the square root of 1 is 1. And then on this side, I'd get negative 1, which is 1. So this is going to be the solution that works because this one was extraneous. So you should always check your answers for funny extraneous solutions. So the answer was B for 15. These you might want to practice gridding in your answer on the answer sheet. What is the volume of a right rectangular prism with a length of 4, a width of 9, and a height of 10? Well, volume is length times width times height. So 4 times 9 times 10. 4 times 9 is 36, add a 0, so 360. 17, if x satisfies the equation, what's the value of 2x plus 1? So we need to solve for x. So I've got 4x plus 2 equals 4. Subtract 2, so I get 4x equals just 2. X equals 1/2. Now I'm going to plug in 1/2. 2 times 1/2 plus 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2. 17 is 2. 18. The figure shows a complete graph of a function. The function g not shown is defined by this function translated up 6. What's the maximum value of this function? Well, the original function, the maximum value was only at 2, right? So if we're translating up 6, 2 plus 6, the maximum value now would be 8. Two questions left. So triangle PQR, let's see, PQR has a right angle at Q. So I don't know, PQR we'll say. The sine of R, so here's my angle of question. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse is 4 over 5. What is the value of the tangent of P? Well, tangent of P, well, I'm just going to erase this stuff now. So now that I know that I've got 4 and 5, I know this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle because it's a Pythagorean triple. 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared, Pythagorean theorem. P, this is opposite now, and this is adjacent. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. So 3 over 4 would be the solution. You could also write this as 0.75 in your grid box, and you'd get the answer correct. And the last one, number 20. The graph of a linear function is shown. The graph of linear function g is not shown, but it's perpendicular and passes through the point 1, 3. What's the value g of 0? So they want the y-intercept, basically. All right. If it's perpendicular, this currently has a slope of -2, right? Down 2 over 1. So the perpendicular slope is going to be positive 1/2. I'm putting b there to represent the y-intercept because this is graph of g of x. This is f of x. I have a point 1, 3. So I can plug in 1 for x and 3 for y to figure out my y-intercept. So 3 equals 1/2 plus b, subtract 1/2 to the other side. So b has to be 2 1/2. You could also write this as the fraction 5/2 in your grid box.